Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. You've done an excellent job entering today and finding your house seats. Could I ask you to sit up straight, please? Make sure your socks are up. Make sure your attention's to the front, please. Ask that you check your hats off, your water bottles are out of your hands. If you could please give the Assembly the courtesy and respect it deserves.
Wow, what a start to our assembly. Please thank our FCIP Percussion Ensemble for their recently recorded performance of And the Mountains Rising, arranged by Kevin Tuck and under the direction of conductor Mr. Suf Barras. Well, we again gathered for another assembly. We have gathered here a lot this year for many reasons, and not always as we're doing so today. But if you think about it, each time we gather, we do so for very good reasons. Each time we have celebrated, acknowledged, and honoured the many things that make our school what it is today. Even in this extraordinary year where normal is not so normal anymore, we can still be thankful for many things. Today is a very special assembly, as it will be the last time we gather as a whole school with our Year 12 cohort before they graduate. This is the last couple of weeks for classes before we have a revision week, followed by 3.5 weeks of externally set exams to be completed by students all over Queensland. This is the first time for these exams, and we wish our Year 12s all the very best as they prepare for them and the completion of this formal part of their secondary education. Today, we will recognise some of our seniors in their accomplishments in the FCIP and Term 3 sport.
Next week, we celebrate our annual Franciscan Week. This special week is unique to us at Padua, where we get the chance to celebrate all things Franciscan. It was nearly 800 years ago that a man in Assisi called Francis changed the world forever. We are thankful for many things that belong to the Franciscan tradition, but none more importantly than the friars who are a part of our community. Can we please take this time to stand and thank Father John, Father Joe, and Father Mario with a huge round of applause. These men witness to us the spirit of St. Francis by their presence at Padua. Whenever we begin an assembly, we light our college candle and we pray. We do so now.
We are honoured to be gathered to acknowledge country,
dance on country, sing on country, visit country. We speak to country, care for country, long for country.
we pay our respects to elders, past and present, and thank them for passing on their knowledge, our language and spiritual connection to country. Country is lived on and lived with. Country gives and receives life.
The moon, stars, and all of creation told stories of the dreaming to the Turrbal peoples. Their understanding of this land, which was sacred to them, came from an understanding of the land and their connection to it. We honour this connection by acknowledging the ancestor spirits and the elders people of the Turrbal. We pray our connections will bring peace and reconciliation to all who wish it.
Let us pray in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God with us, We gather in your name. You are in our midst. We acknowledge your presence with us now. Thank you for the gift of community that unites us as one school. Remain with us on our journey as together we move through the final stages of our school year. Give us the strength to end this year with joy, peace, and fraternity. This prayer we make through Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Let us welcome Joe Downs, our 2020 college captain, to the microphone.
After hearing about the 2021 leaders this morning, I started to reflect on my time at Padua. Good afternoon, Mr. Elmore, Father Joe, staff and students. I remember being in the exact same place that you boys were last year. I also remember my first day in grade 5 in Mrs. Ayres' class, music camp, moving to grade 7 and seeing my new PC teacher, Mrs. Welsh, loving and bubbly, albeit possibly not always happy to see me. Now, while this may seem random, I also started to remember my parents and all that they've done for me to get me to less than 2 weeks of classes before external exams. I did a few calculations whilst reflecting, and over my 8 years, I've played approximately 60 games of rugby, including trials. Of those 60 games, there was always a parent watching, most of the time both. I could say the same about volleyball, music concerts, basketball, and even my small career in debating. Up until I got my licence, they would pick me up from training and drive me to just about every single game and training. I also worked out that in these same 8 years, there were about 1,600 lunches that were supplied, give or take a few times from the tuck shop. There have been countless times I've been helped with my homework, pushed to finish an assignment, get off my phone, clean my room, pick up the pencils, rulers and scissors off my desk, put my washing out, or just focus on my schoolwork. Now, while I believe cleaning my room is irrelevant to a healthy lifestyle, I know they tell me to study hard because they want what's best for me. They want me to develop the habits that go beyond the ATAR score I will receive at the end of the year. And despite me not fully agreeing, I even realise they tell me to clean my room because I need to be better organised when I do leave home. I can't really live in a house that resembles my room. I ask all of you, when was the last time we thanked our parents for watching the sport, for pushing us to do better, for driving us to training, or for making our lunch? When was the last time we thanked our parents for listening to our bad days or good? To any of the parents watching today, we thank you for all the sacrifices that you make, for the small things that you do that go unrecognised, and for the big things that you do that only parents will do. We simply could not have gotten here without you. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Elmore, Father Joe, staff and students of Padua. Gents, this Saturday, the 11th of October, is World Mental Health Day. Now, over the past year at Padua, there's been multiple different days that we've kind of commemorated and recognised mental health issues concerned with mental health and well-being, whether that's Men's Health Week or Are You OK Day or Bullying No Way Day. And they all kind of have the same message. And there's a reason why we keep on over and over again repeating days concerned with mental health. And that's because it's such an important issue, it's such a tricky issue, and it's an issue that we need to get right, especially as school students. Statistics in Australia show that if you were to develop a mental illness, chances are that that will start and originate while in high school. So it's important that we raise education and we get these kind of issues right. For those in years 7 and 11, you may remember for Are You OK Day last term, completing the wellbeing survey. So firstly, thank you for everyone for completing that. That really does help. There are mainly two reasons why we decided to put out that survey. The first one was to see how exactly is Padua placed with regards to mental health and wellbeing at the moment. And two, how can we improve in the future? what initiatives that we can implement to improve this area into the future. So the best way to do that and the best way to get it right is to ask you directly what initiatives we can use into the future and then implement those that we see fit. So that's what we did. So thank you very much for all your answers. We will then make a list and see what kind of those initiatives that we can implement in the future, and that way we can improve and enhance mental health and wellbeing here at Padua. So this Saturday and into the future, World Mental Health Day, it's important. Check in with your mates, check in with your friends, make sure they're okay, see how they're going. If they're not, check in again, recommend a course of action, because these kind of questions to each other really can save lives, and they really are important. It's really necessary that we get this area right. So thanks, gents.
World Mental Health Day. Humanity needs this day more than ever. 1 in 4 people around the world will be affected by mental illness at some point in their lives, often facing stigma, often losing hope. And we can't just shut our eyes. We can't just turn our backs. We need to reach out and listen. We need to speak up and act now. On October 10th, World Mental Health Day ignites all of us to empower individuals and associations to reach out and to support those in need, to educate people, the media, influencers, and mental health gatekeepers on our joint responsibility to care for one another, to encourage politicians to invest and to create lasting change for better mental health, and to give hope, to connect and to create communities that are stigma-free. Join the World Federation for Mental Health today so that every year on October 10th, we speak as a global community with a unifying voice to secure dignity in mental health for all.
Thank you, Joe and Kieran. All the best to both of you. And now to Mr. Elmore.
Thanks, Josh. Good morning, good men of Padua. It's great to see you here, and it's certainly great to address you this morning. You may, like me, have read a book or watched a movie over the holidays. We all know that all good movies and all good books have a great ending. Our school year is not unlike that book or movie. The ending is important. School years, like books and movies, have a certain rhythm that build up to the climax or the great ending. And term 4 for us is that great ending. Today's assembly begins the ending for us. We'll acknowledge many achievements today. Sporting achievements, achievements for FCIP boys, and I make the note that whilst our boys on the sporting field got a chance to play, our FCIP students did not get a chance to perform publicly. I also acknowledge that today is the last regular assembly for our wonderful group of young men, our Year 12s, who have their last assembly with us today before their Vale. Can I say well done to everyone who's achieving an award today, but also well done to those boys who are sitting there who had their own goals as they began the year, and they're now beginning to reflect on their achievements. I'm sure that at some point you've told a friend about a great movie or a great book, and you spoke about what a good ending it had. Well, that is because all good authors and scriptwriters know what the ending is before they begin to write. And you know, that's our school year as well. We know what our ending is going to be like. We know what we value and we know what is important, and so our ending, we are very clear about what it looks like. We'll have celebrations for our Year 12 men. These will be important celebrations for them, but more importantly, as Joe pointed out today, we also remember the important part that families and staff play in those celebrations. Our final term also includes our feast day mass for St. Francis. We'll have that next week. And we'll also announce the winner of the Friars Cup, and we will have House Celebration Day. They're important events for us. We'll have assemblies and celebrations to recognise sport, music, culture and learning. We're going to be very clear about what that ending looks like around our behaviour, because just like this is your best term for learning, term 4 is where you perform at your best in the classroom. It's also the term that you perform at your best in regards to your behaviour. And I make that point very clearly. We want this year, a year that has no doubt had some challenges, to finish the best way it can. And each and every one of us, myself, the staff, and each and every one of you will play a part in making sure that 2020 is that great ending here at Padua. Thank you, boys. You got the list? It's all good, mate. We'll go off the envelopes. Well, folks, this particular moment is also an important part of the school year. Now, we will have a formal handover, but today I have the pleasure, in the company of Mr Lowry, to announce the 2021 Leaders-Elect. And in doing so, I suppose, I go to the great work of our leaders and our entire Year 12 cohort of this year and acknowledge their work. It was great to hear Kieran and Joe speak about the importance of student voice, how powerful that can be. So I'll hand over to Mr Lowry to announce our 2021 college leaders, and I'll ask them to come forward and receive a letter from me acknowledging that appointment. Mr Lowry.
Yeah, no worries. Gentlemen, staff and community watching at home, it gives me great pleasure this morning to announce on behalf of Mr Elmore and the college our 2021 student leaders. And I'll begin this morning with Angelo House. Can we congratulate Nathan Creeley and Luke Froloff? We congratulate Nathan in his absence today. Our Catani House leaders, Nicholas Dracos and Jack Liddy. Our Leo House leaders, Trent Millard and Samuel DeWard. Our Maseo House leaders, Finn Cox and Thomas Bennetts. Quintavale House leaders, Mackenzie Fox and Will McCulloch. We congratulate Mackenzie in his absence. Our Ruffino House leaders, Damon Evans and Luca Norman. Our academic leader, Lachlan Chun. Our pastoral leader, Jacob Coogan. Our co-curricular leader, Daniel Healy. Our community leader, Eden Taylor. And for those who are unaware, for the first time this year we'll be appointing for 2021, in lieu of a college vice captain and college captain, we'll be appointing 2 school captains, so 2 college captains, in a tradition that we hope is long-lasting into the future for Padua. So our 2021 school captains are McLean Herman and Declan McGrath. Gents, we might offer all these boys another round of congratulations.
At our last Academic Awards Assembly, some boys missed out on receiving their awards. Mr. Pacey will present these awards now.
In the busyness of school life, we often have opportunities where we celebrate awards, we celebrate events, and boys are out at other things. And that includes today our Year 9 Academic Award recipients who would be receiving their award based on Week 7 Academic Assembly are on a STEM excursion today, so they will be receiving their award next Assembly. The boys who were not present at the last Academic Assembly we'd like to recognise today for their work and for their effort throughout Semester 1. From Year 6, Daniel Laffey. From Year 7, Zachary O'Grady. From Year 8, Christopher Allegado, Hans Patherden, Reese Scully. Stop there. Look at the back door. And from Year 12, Samuel Hudson and Charlie Pearman. Congratulations, gentlemen.
FCIP, like all groups within the Paduan community, have had an interesting year. At the beginning of today's assembly, we heard the talents of our percussion ensemble. Each week, hundreds of students from St Anthony's, Manet and Padua have come together to practice their music. At some times this year, it was done virtually, but more recently, our bands, ensembles and orchestras have been able to gather again to play. Last term, FCIP recorded a selection of their music to highlight what has been achieved even in this crazy year of COVID-19. This morning we would like to honour some of our senior students for their participation and outstanding contribution to FCIP. I would like to invite Mr Trevor Bayer to the microphone to announce his following special 2020 FCIP Special Music Senior Awards.
Good afternoon, Father Joe, Mr. Elmore, staff and good men of Padua. It's with my great pleasure that I get to announce the Intermediate Music Awards today and acknowledge our graduating senior musicians for 2020. The task for the FCOP this year has been to learn large quantities of music with limited possibilities of performance. Throughout the year, we witnessed patience and real commitment from all our musicians. Today, we acknowledge the determined efforts of all our outstanding and dedicated students. The chief among them are the following young men who are graduating seniors. And to acknowledge their dedication and contribution to the FCIP over many years, we would like to offer them a small gift. Please save your applause till the end. Henry Benstead, Jake Brooks, Samuel Buckland, Alex Goodwin, Jacobson Harris, Ned Hasty, Grayson Hesselden, Will Higgins, Aidan Holloway, Sam Hudson, Nicholas Murphin, Aaron Napier, Jacob Scalia, Ashley Smythe, and our FCIP captain, Nicholas Wilson. Please congratulate our graduating senior musicians. The Intermediate Music Awards acknowledges students' outstanding progress, commitment to practice and regular attendance at ensemble rehearsals. The Intermediate Concert Band Award winners are, for 2020, Outstanding Achievement, Alex Baricello, William Olson and Isaac Healy. Our Rising Star Awards for Intermediate Concert Band, Kyan Yates, Jaden Gawler and Harrison Baker. The Wind Ensemble Awards winners for Outstanding Achievement, Riley Waters, Nathan Kane and Josh Kenny. Our Rising Star winners for Wind Ensemble is Jack Dutton, who's I think on excursion today, William Goodhue and Sebastian Fox. The Intermediate String Orchestra Award winners for Outstanding Achievement, Marcus Deeb and Rowan Barber. Intermediate String Orchestra Rising Star Awards, Joseph McLean and Will Peterson. The Percussion and Jazz Ensemble Award winners are Outstanding Achievement, Dominic Smith and Jack Grundy Brown. The final award for this aspect of the Intermediate Awards for Outstanding Commitment to the FCIP is Matthew Martin. Please congratulate our Intermediate Award winners. Thank you, gents. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate all members of the FCIP ensembles for their recent Showcase concert performance and their continued commitment to the FCIP heading into 2021. Thank you, boys.
Conversation, no more action, please. All this aggravation and satisfaction in me. Little less fire, a little more bark. A little less fire, a little more spark. Close your mouth, open up your heart, baby. Satisfy me, baby. Eyes to listen to the music, take to the summer breeze. It's a groovy night, you show how to use it. Come along, put your mind at ease. Yeah, a little less conversation, a little more action, please. All this aggravation and satisfaction in me. A little more fire, a little less spark. A little less fire, a little more spark. Close your mouth, open up your heart, baby. Satisfy me, baby. Come on, baby, I'm tired of talking. Grab your coat, let's start walking. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't procrastinate, don't articulate. You just get late, you just waiting round. Little less conversation, a little more action, please. All this aggravation and satisfaction in me. Little more fire, a little less fun. Little less fire, a little more spark. Close your mouth, open up your heart, baby. Satisfy me. I'm tired of talking. Grab your coat, let's start walking. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't procrastinate, don't articulate. You just get late, you just wait around. Little less conversation, little more action, please. All this aggravation and satisfaction in me. Little more bite, a little less spark. Little less fun, a little more spark. Close your mouth, open up your heart, baby. Satisfy me. Satisfy me.
Thanks, Rock Band. We have enjoyed your performances every time. To continue with the rest of our assembly, I invite Mr. Maguire to lead us through the remainder of our gathering today, which highlights huge sporting program in Term 3 and introduces us to the 2020 Padua track and field season.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, Mr. Elmore, Father Joe, staff, students, and to our viewers on the stream. Anyone here a Panthers fan? Penrith Panthers? You can admit it, put your hand up. There's a few, I know Mr. O'Brien is. Has anyone heard of a young guy called Liam Martin, who's playing for Penrith at the moment and most likely will play State of Origin for that other state later in the year? Just got a short clip I want to show you, and you may have seen this because it's been out probably for the last 24 hours, about Liam's journey to becoming a professional rugby league player.
Footy and family. It's all I've ever known. The two go hand in hand. My Temora teammates modelled their games off the greats.
Oh, go Freddie! Oh, intercepted by Lockie! Joey's over again!
Their idols embedded on the TV screen. My older brother Jared, my first opponent, teammate and coach. His only direction, hard work beats talent. Our 1,500 acre farm was our training paddock. My mum, Maxine, watched on as I modelled my game on the greatest player I've ever known. We shared a dream to play in the NRL, but Jared was always hungrier. His heart was always more determined. At 16, I lost my hero, and I lost myself. Hearing the news, I went to the only place that felt like home, a footy field. Here, my hunger grew. My determination would never waver. An NRL jersey would don the Martin name.
I lost my brother 5 years ago. I never got to play footy with him. Every time I step on the field, I just hope I'm doing him proud.
Behind the fence, my mum Maxine cheers again. Beside her, my siblings, Erina, Brianne and Brad. With our name etched on a Panthers jersey, I carry Jared's legacy. With every run,
Martin, strong run again!
every tackle,
He got the Liam Martin treatment.
every try,
Martin with a great aerial catch!
I always remember hard work beats talent every single time.
Today we're going to recognise the hard work of many of our coaches and our players during Term 3. The Franciscan Awards, they reflect hard work. The values of joy, courtesy, humility, simplicity and peace, they take perseverance and they take effort. To be a true Paduan requires each and every one of us to demonstrate these values more often than not. The students who will be presented with these sporting awards today have, in the opinion of their coach, their managers and their peers, shown that true Franciscan values in training, in competition. Hard work always beats talent. Unfortunately, Term 3 came to a sudden halt due to COVID-19 and the need for the AIC to protect the health of its communities. Although at the time the decision was not a popular one, it was the right one, given the advice from the health authorities. From the very beginning, the AIC has always stated very clearly that the safety and the health of our students, our parents and our communities would be the front and centre of any of our decisions. At the time of this cancellation, we actually had 7 teams that were preparing to play in an AIC Grand Final. Our Rugby 5ths, our 8Ds, our 7As, and our 6As and 5C rugby teams had remained undefeated. Our football 5ths, 8C, 7Ds, and our 6C and 5E football teams had remained undefeated at this point. Add to that also our chess junior B side. This was an awesome achievement from these teams to win their pool. Congratulations to the coaches and to the players on your season. To all the coaches, managers, players and supporters, I want to thank you for your hard work and dedication in getting yourself prepared and ready under such different times. I was truly amazed by our resilience and our acceptance of the situation. Sport continues to teach us some amazing life lessons. And this year has certainly made me, or allowed me, to reflect on the importance that sport plays at Padua College. To the first 15, first football and first chess. I know it hasn't been the year we all expected. That's a fair understatement. However, I am glad that you at least had some part of the experience. All the teams played with great spirit, determination and skill, and everyone got to see the talent that you possessed. Thanks to the captains, Artie Nichols, Tate Rogers and Fletcher Finney, on your excellent leadership qualities, which continued the tradition of exceptional captains at Padua. To all the Year 12s, I thank you for your commitment to Padua sport over the years. I hope the years have given you great memories, and I hope that sport in some way continues to be a part of your life. Also, I'd like to congratulate the first rugby league team that played on the holidays, which was captained by Darcy Ryan at the Mount Maria Challenge. Also, I'd like to congratulate the following Year 12s who have played in three or more years playing firsts. Artie Nichols, Darcy Ryan, Ned Patterson, Will Barnes, Tate Rogers, Cooper Harris, Jaden Walker, Lachlan Cotter, Will Pembroke, Isaac Cox, Alex Rice, Jason Cheers, Jack Fiorini and Declan Baker. To play 3 years in first level is certainly exceptional achievement. I do apologise if I've missed a couple. These were the only replies that I received at the time of my email. I'd like to make mention though, particularly to Will Barnes. Will Barnes started in the first four tennis 2015 through to 2020. So to play 6 years at the elite level in the AIC competition, well, that's a fair achievement. So congratulations, Will, and to those boys that I just mentioned. We might put our hands together. And to the Year 12s, you're probably pretty glad that's the last time you hear my voice. We're going to move on now to our awards. Mr. Wren, unfortunately, is not here today, so we're going to move straight into our cross-country awards. And we'll go through these as quickly as we can, boys. I know it's been a fairly lengthy one already, but let's make sure we give the respect to these guys that have picked up awards. Many of these would be your mates, and I'm sure they would respect you if you're picking up an award. So we'll look at our trainers of the year first. In Year 5, James Searle. If your name is called out and you're still sitting out in the crowd, please quickly come up here and we would like to acknowledge you. Year 6, Leo Harrington. 12 years, Isaac Nixon. 13 years, Baxter Feidler. 14 years, James Tisdall. 15 years, Riley Peterson. 16 years, Cooper Wilson. And our Opens Trainer of the Year went to Max Smith. Let's put our hands together for these young men, please. Just wait, Cooper, grab your award. Well done, gents. Now to AIC Runners of the Year. And at a previous or most recent assembly, Mr. Wren actually gave us a rundown of the AIC competition, so I won't go through that again. We just didn't have our awards at that stage. Year 5, Lucas Humphreys. Year 6, Harry Luswich. 12 years, Zahn Spears. 13 years, Benjamin Richards. 14 years, James Tisdall. 15 years, Jackson Pike. 16 years, Sam DeWard. And our Open Runner of the Year goes to Ned Patterson. Please put your hands together for the Runners of the Year. Thanks, gents. I'll put our hands together now for Mr. Groove, who is going to announce the Chess Awards for 2020.
Good afternoon, Father Joe, Mr. Elmore, staff and students. The 2020 chess season consisted of many ups and downs, whether it be Max Smith getting beaten by a Year 7 prodigy from St. Pat's, or the Junior B's undefeated season. Unfortunately, all senior and intermediate teams had a tough season, placing 3rd or 4th in their pools respectively. However, our main focus this year was on youth development, through the junior teams. Junior B was a standout, winning their pool and looking like favourites to take out the premiership against Villa. I'd like to thank all the boys who participated in training and games. There was a lot of uncertainty about the season, but your boys stayed strong and continued to train and compete with the high attendance rates. Finally, on behalf of all the boys, I'd like to thank our coaches, Mr. Groofy, Miss Maguire, Zeke Ahern and Jordan Vicko for the significant amount of effort you put into making the season run smoothly. Congratulations to all the award winners and everyone involved in chess this year. Thank you.
The Chess Awards for 2020. Our Junior Chess Award goes to Owen Coughlin. Intermediate Chess Award goes to Tristan Cruz. Our Senior Chess Award goes to Leonardo Hill. Our Open Chess Award goes to Anthony Caranese. If Anthony is there. And our Open Chess Player of the Year for 2020 goes to Dom Kataya. Please put your hands together for these boys. Thank you.
Congratulations to all our chess players, in particular to our award winners, and thank you to Mr. Groofy and to the coaches. We'll move straight on now to our AIC Football Awards, and could you please put your hands together for Mr. Out. Sorry, there's been a change in the script. Artie Nichols.
Good afternoon, Father Joe, Mr. Elmore, staff and students. Overall, the first football season and with the team looking to play for 5th spot against St. Lawrence's. While this wasn't the result the boys were aiming for, there were many positives to take from the season. In our first game against St. Pat's, it was 6 of our 11 players' first ever start for the first team, and while we unfortunately went down 3-1, everyone put up a fantastic fight, and the highlight of the match was Dunko scoring a goal on debut. The next match was out at Eddie's, and the lads put on a clinic, scoring 9 goals with a hat-trick to Jack Stone on his debut, and Lachlan Cotter scoring his first goal for the team after playing for 3 years. Among the other goal scorers were Trent, Damo, Jack Newitt and Dunko again. Finally, we versed Marist, a team who's been an extremely dominant force throughout the competition for the past few years. Unfortunately, when we led in a few early cheap goals, allowing Marist to get to a 4-0 lead by 30th minute. But from then on, we kept them scoreless for the rest of the game, displaying great courage. Hopefully all the Year 11s can take this gameplay into the next season and doing so have a very good shot at winning the title. Across the rest of the football competition, there were many fantastic results, with the 7D, 8C and mighty 6-11 all set to play in the grand final when the season ended. As well as this, the 9A, 4th 11, 8D, 6D and 5E all went through the season undefeated. Congratulations to all these teams. Finally, on behalf of everyone who participated in the football program, I'd like to thank the sports office, coaches, in particular Mr. Out and Ben Furman, and especially parents for all the help with managing teams, coaching teams and getting boys to games. Without your help, this season wouldn't have been possible. Thanks for having me up here. Cheers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Elmore, Father Joe, staff, students and those watching at home. It is my pleasure today to announce the 2020 Football Awards, and we begin with the Franciscan Awards, starting with the 5E, Cameron Twaddell, 5D, Harrison Lang, 5C, Emil Al-Mahana, 5B, Matthew Popperwell, 5As, Romeo Patane, 6Es, Jack Kalahora, 6D, Luca Betts, 6C, Joseph Rodda, 6B, Talon Huntley. 6A, Oscar Goggins. 7D, Oliver Craig. 7C, Connor Jones. 7B, George Vivithatel. 7A, Finn Walker. 8D, Max Strong. 8C, Ronan Cox. 8B, Bruno Guglielcello. 8A, Reece Skelly. 9Cs, James Robinson. 9B, Pacini Orbelt. 9As, Ethan Richards. The 10Bs, Campbell Logie. 10As, Nicholas Falzon. The 6th 11, Ryan Bassett. 5th 11, Jack Andrew. 4th 11, Liam Phillips. 3rd 11, Will Higgins. And the 2nd 11, Charles Bergman. And if we could put our hands together for our Franciscan Award winners. Thanks, gentlemen. The next football award is the Player of the Season award, and it's presented to one player in each year group. Starting with Year 5, Jack Hannafin. Year 6, Miller Childs. Year 7, Edward and Feather. Year 8, Nicholas DeBonis. Year 9, Zachary Rossi. And Year 10, Massimo Tortoriello. And well done to our players of the season. Put your hands together. The final set of awards are the special awards for our first 11 squad. We start with the Most Consistent Player Award, which is presented to a player who consistently performs to their best level in matches and on the training pitch and can be considered a true professional. The most consistent first 11 player this year is Cooper Harris. The next award is the Rising Star Award. This award is presented to a player who is perceived to have a bright future in the game of football, either on or off the pitch. The award recognises a player who demonstrates a passion for learning about the game of football, demonstrates a passion to achieve at the highest level that their ability allows, consistently performs to the best of their ability on and off the pitch, and the worthy recipient of this award is Joshua Stevenson. Well done, Josh. The next award is the Players' Player Medal. This is presented to an individual player who's voted by his peers as the best player over the course of a season. And while he's going down the front there, it was a close contest, but the player's player was Joshua Stevenson. So well done again. And the final individual award for today is one of the most revered footballing awards at Padua. The award is the Padua Old Boys Past AIC Captains Award. A worthy recipient of this award is a player who is determined to perform to his potential regardless of the situation of a match, is someone who encourages others to work harder in training and to be at training, is a player who puts the team before himself, is a player who consistently performs at a very high level, and is a player who would be first selected by the Padua Old Boys to play in any match. And the recipient of this year's award from the Padua Old Boys is Artie Nichols. Well done, Artie. And well done to all our award winners. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Out. Thank you to Artie, and congratulations to our first football team award winners and to all our players as well. I'd like to invite now Tate Rogers and also Mr Darby now to present our Rugby Awards for 2020. Please put your hands together for them.
Good afternoon, Father Joe, Mr Elmore, staff and good men of Padua. Firstly, I would like to say a huge thanks on behalf of the team to Mr Elmore, Mr Maguire and the Sports Department on organising and planning around COVID-19 for us to even have a chance at playing the season. I would also like to say a huge thanks to Shane Buckley, Mr Darby, Craig Groff and Mr Toulis for giving up their time to coach and prepare us throughout the season. They have spent many early mornings and late afternoons helping us to continuously improve on our fitness, skill and strength. The 2020 season obviously wasn't the season we were looking for, with many players injured throughout all Opens teams impacting the team's performance in each individual way. However, many boys were called up into position to perform their best they could, and they did. Many boys dug deep and put in the hard yards to help us out the best they could. Our goal for the season was to be the most enthusiastic team in the competition. We believe that no matter the talent or skill, that the team with the most enthusiasm and determination to win the game would come out on top. Throughout the season, there were many times where we displayed great enthusiasm, but we let our guard down at stages, and this is what we believe caused the end result of our poor season. However, boys, I am proud of each one of you for your efforts throughout the season. I know it was difficult, but we stuck through it together and played as a team. To the grade 11 boys, I wish you guys the best of luck for next year's season. You boys will be a strong side. And to us grade 12 boys, it was an absolute honour captaining us this year and playing alongside you boys for our schooling careers. All credit to the boys. Once again, thank you Shane, Mr Darby, Craig and Mr Toulis for the season. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Father Joe, Mr Elmore, staff and students. It's my pleasure to present the Franciscan and Player of the Season Awards for Rugby in 2020. In 5D, Lachlan Hall. 5C, Connor Ahern. 5B, Elliot Smith. 5A, William Maitland. 6C, Luca Brunello. 6B, Felix Diamond Bailey. 6A, Ruben Smith. 7D, Bradley Pink. 7C, Presley Orbell. 7B, Jack Turner. 7A, Harrison Studley. (8D), John Delbridge. 8C, Cooper Curry. 8B, Isaac Cross. 8A, Cooper Bodell. (9D), Joseph Norman. 9C, Jack Walsh. 9B, Sam Dibb. 9A, James Mason. (10C), Bailey Fletcher. 10B, Charlie Burford. 10A, Joshua Linklater. Fifth 15, Peter Fizzo. Fourth 15, Denzel Choi. Third 15, Harry Leach. And second 15, Luca Norman. Congratulations, gentlemen. And now for the Player of the Season Awards. In Year 5, Caelan Breen. In Year 6, Lincoln Dalton. In Year 7, Elijah Breen. In Year 8, Lucas Bain. Year 9, Brock Powell. Year 10, Mitchell Ross. Congratulations, gentlemen.
On to our first 15 awards, and some of these have been around for quite a while in regards to the naming of them, and I just wanted to give some people some background on those. Our first award at the first 15 level is a Contribution to Rugby Award, and it's not necessarily an award based on this year, it's an award based on services to the game of rugby here at Padua College. And I'm very proud to acknowledge that the winner of this award for 2020 is Dallas Retchless. The next one I don't mean to embarrass or shame, but could I ask Mr. Lowry to come up here, please? As we know, Mr. Lowry is heading over the river next year. That's probably the scariest part of it. He's heading to the south side, but we know that we're all going to wish him all the best. From a rugby point of view, Mr. Lowry, since his time here, which is 19 years, has played a really significant role in the development of our rugby program. Safe to say that we were way down the bottom when Mr. Lowry arrived, and since his time here, he's been a rugby coordinator, he's coached every year, and he's won 3 first 15 premierships. So just to acknowledge the work that he's done for our rugby program, just for this year, we have named the Best Forward Award the Lowry Trophy, and I suppose it's pretty perfect in regards to the winner of this award. Best Forward for 2020 goes to Josh Toohey. Stand around photo. Got to get a photo. Stand there and get a photo. First 15, Best Back Award went to Tate Rogers. The Coaches Award went to Joe Downs. Best and Fairest for 2020, which is the Robert Out Shield. And for anyone that doesn't know who Robert Out is, for most of it, it was Mr. Out, and once you become an old boy, it is Bob. Mr. Out was the rector here before Mr. Elmore and had a long, illustrious career here at Padua College as a student, as a teacher, and then as a leader of our college and our community. Mr. Out is his son, and Ryan Out in Year 6 is his grandson. Ryan was to present today, but he's fallen ill, so I've just asked Mr. Out if he'd come out and to present the 2020 Best and Fairest Robert Out Shield. And this guy was outstanding next year and should be one of our leaders come 2021 on the sporting fields. Congratulations to Daniel Healy. Thank you to our presenters, and congratulations to our first 15 award winners, to all our rugby players and to all our junior rugby award winners. So thank you. Put your hands together, boys. Gents, if we could just sit up straight, just find a little bit of energy. We haven't got much longer to go, apologise, but it's really important that we get these people acknowledged for their performances. One of the casualties of COVID was the AIC Rugby League competition this year. Plan B, which was to run a carnival of the holidays, also lost its way. But fortunately, a group of Year 11s and 12s got the opportunity to play in the Mount Maria Challenge. I'd like to thank those boys involved. I'd like to thank all the staff. And if I could ask Darcy Ryan, who was named captain, and also the coach of the team, Mr. O'Brien, just to come forward and to present and to say a few words. Put your hands together, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Elmore, Father Joe, staff and good men of Padua. Over the holidays, myself and the rest of the First 13 Rugby League team competed in a competition hosted by Mount Maria College. We were very thankful to have been given an opportunity to play rugby league, as a number of setbacks due to COVID made our chances look very slim. As we headed out on our first day, we were set to play the home side, Mount Maria. We knew we had trained and prepared well as we came out on top, winning 44-0. Our next two games were versing Unity College on the Monday afternoon and St Benedict's on the Tuesday morning. We came out on top of both games, winning convincingly again, with two strong efforts from the boys. After a strong game Tuesday morning, we were told we would have to face one of our AIC rivals, Iona, due to another school pulling out of our game. We were all excited to play Iona and test our abilities, as we knew how strong a side they were. Unfortunately, after one of the most physical and draining games I've ever played, Iona came out on top, winning 12-6. Luckily for us, we were able to face Iona again, and the following day in the second part of our two-game battle. After trailing at half-time, we found the strength to pull through and win 14-6 in the final few minutes. I'd like to give a special praise to Joey Downs, who led our forward pack in an inspirational defensive display, similar to the likes of Melbourne's very own Brandon Smith. I'd like to thank the entire coaching staff, including Mr O'Brien, Mr Humphreys, Mr Peck and his outstanding strapping skills, Breeny, Mr Webb, and of course Mr Maguire and the entire sports department for going to great lengths to ensure this could happen. To the Year 11s, good luck next year for both footy seasons. I'm sure you'll do us all proud. And to my fellow Year 12s, it has been a pleasure to play alongside you boys for the past 8 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Darcy. You spoke very well. Just a few quick thank yous to me before we give the awards. Firstly, I'd like to thank Mr Elmore and Mr Maguire for all the hard work they put in just to get us into that competition. It was excellent. The boys got to play some rugby league at the end, and I thank them both very much for their hard work. Also to the coaching staff, to Mr Humphreys, Mr Peck, Mr Maguire, thank you very much for all of your efforts. To Mount Maria and the other teams for allowing us to go into the competition. It was, as I said, it was a great opportunity for us to get some rugby league, so thank you to Mount Maria. We only had a very short preparation. We had about a week and a half, but I'd like to thank the playing group, particularly the leadership group, which was Darcy and Tate, Dallas, Poasi and Jaden Walker, for their leadership in making sure we didn't waste any of our time in that preparation. It was a very good preparation, and that showed out as the carnival progressed. Our best game was the last game, which is always a good sign, and it was very good to see that the squad were able to perform so well against Iona. Particularly, it's a unique opportunity if you get beaten by a team one day and the next day you get to play them again. So I was really impressed with what I saw. But because we didn't have a big preparation, we didn't have a lot of finesse in our attack, completion rates weren't great, but by the time we got to the back end of the third day, we had a real steel to us about how we defended our errors, and that was the most pleasing part for me, that there was a real strength to the team. So thank you very much. Good luck to the guys from grade 12 that are leaving. I hope you continue in sport, and to the guys that are here next year, let's make sure that we continue to build on what the short period we had together this year, especially to Darcy and Tate. This is their third year representing the college in first 13 in rugby league, and that's an amazing achievement. To the award winners, best back, Tate Rogers. Best forward, Poasi. And the best and fairest, as mentioned by Darcy in his speech, Joe Downs. It was an amazing effort that he could play in the middle for as long as he did, and it was a big reason why we won.
Thank you, Mr O'Brien, and congratulations to the award winners, and thank you to Darcy. One final award, again, like I just mentioned, it's been a long award ceremony, but again, I think it's important that we do these things. The last award is a really important award, and probably with the news that most of us heard this week, I'd just like to tell you a little story about how the award came about. The award's the Father John Boyd Boland Footballer of the Year, and it's in recognition of all the hard work that Father John did to get us into this wonderful competition, this wonderful association. In 1998, Father John was the chair of the TAS, and the TAS had got too big, too many schools. Apart from the AIC schools, there was St Columban, St Paul's, Redeemer, Ormiston, John Paul College, Canterbury College. So the competition had become too big and too hard to administer and handle. Father John had an idea that maybe we should have a breakaway competition. Invite the schools that we wish to play against on a regular basis. In 1998, in St Francis Hall, Father John brought all the TAS red and blue heads of college together, and you can imagine what the feeling was. And he announced that 8 schools were pulling out of TAS. That's all he said. And they all sort of looked around at each other and thought, well, where are you going? And then he announced to them, well, we're going to form a new association called AIC. Could you all now please leave the room? So to Father John, this was in recognition, and we know he loves his sport, but more importantly, he's always loved his rugby union and rugby league. Father John was a very good rugby union player himself at Joey's. And this award was to recognise the player who played rugby union and rugby league, because at times there'd been some friction between the two sports, and at times rugby league did disappear, and fortunately it's now back in our program. So this award was named after Father John, in honour of Father John, for some of the tough decisions that he made for us to be in this wonderful association now. And the Father John Boyd Boland Award for Football of the Year has been something that every rugby league and rugby union player at the first level have always wanted to win. And unfortunately, Father John's not feeling so great this afternoon. He would have loved to have been here to present this award, because I know it means a lot to him. So I might ask Mr. Elmore to come up in his presence if possible. And the Father John Boyd Boland Football of the Year goes to Tate Rogers. Before we just go to the final video, just a couple of things. First of all, I want to acknowledge and thank Mr. Emlyn Jones for the video you're about to see. People probably don't realise how much extra time and effort that Mr. Emlyn Jones puts into presenting these videos. There's a lot of groundwork, and then there's a lot of editing. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. O'Brien, Miss Winnie and Mrs. Stagg, who do an amazing amount of work behind the scenes to make sure the awards are in place and that everything runs really smoothly. So can we put our hands together for those people, please? And also to Mr. Jackson and the tech crew at the back of the room, who always do an amazing job at our assembly. So thank you, guys. Go to the video.
Good afternoon, Mr Elmore, Father Joe, staff and students. It is my pleasure to announce the Padua College track and field team for 2020. Can I ask all the boys that are named in the team to stay behind in the bleachers after everyone goes so you can receive your shirt for tomorrow, please. Year 5, Finn McGilvray, Hardy Weikart, Jack Denovan, Jack Dooley, James Searle, Joe Duggan, Caelan Breen, Lucas Humphreys, Matt Eden, Ned O'Regan, Remy Carlaw, Sam Trenfield and Tom Russell. Year 6, Casey Minnis, Charlie Parkin, Dario Pesamenti, Harlan Falafi, Harry Luswich, Leo Harrington, Leon Lane, Marcus Tagani, Miller Childs, Oscar Goggins, Owen Brewer, Patrick Van Dongen, Phoenix Jurkovic, Ryan Out, Steele Barry, Tom Kelly, Tom White and Will Crease. Well done, boys. Off you go, boys. Off you go, boys. Okay, the year 12s, the under 12s. Alejandro Medina, Cooper Roggenkamp, Harrison Vera, Nate Rowcliffe, Rory West, Tom Levi, Tom O'Regan. 13 years, Ben Richards, Damon Humphreys, Declan Smith, Eddie Feather, Hayden Weir, Jack Corby, Jack Mercer, Jackson Hickey, Kyan Yates, Matt McKinless, Nick Collins, Riley Waters, Tom Waters. Thank you, boys. "14 years, CJ Northfield, Cooper Van Dukeren, Isaac Bowl, Jackson Walker, James Tisdall, Jet Allen, Lachlan Hanley, Lachlan Thomas, Oliver O'Regan, Sam Mamalidi, Tyrone Burr, Will Rooney. 15 years, Alex Finney, Andrew DeJager, Billy Barr, Cooper Carswell, Ethan DePayne, Ethan Richards, Finley Craze, Jack Simpson, John Steinmetz, Lincoln Felsman, Mitch Rogers. Well done, boys. "16 years, Ben Woodward, Cameron Ritchie, George Tavaga, Josh Linklater, Lachlan Thompson, Liam McKenzie, Noah Harney, Sam Higgins, Sam DeWard. And our opens for 2020, Cody Fisk, Damon Evans, Jacob Bain, James Christensen, Jaden Fisk, Josh Tui, Lance Davies, Ned Patterson, Pawasi Manu, Riley Murray, Will Purcell, and our captains for 2020, Lachlan Cotter and William Pembroke.
Good afternoon, Mr Elmore, Father Joe, staff and good men of Padua. In a Mr Maguire-styled speech, I'm here to discuss a sport that requires guts, hours upon hours of tweaking and refining of technique to achieve perfection, and is the basis of all other sports, track and field. An athlete that is often discussed as controversial and faced claims that she would be unable to compete in track and field due to a genetic condition aptly reflects 2020's ARC track and field season, is Casta Semenya. An athlete that has faced adversity unlike few others. Identifying as a female, Casta possesses testosterone levels that are similar to a man, and was unable to compete in her desired and beloved track and field. This reflects Padua's 2020 track and field squad, who at the beginning of the year was promised an ARC carnival that was stripped from them by a condition like Casta's that was uncontrollable. However, in long debates over whether Casta would be able to run the 800 again, she was denied but offered another opportunity in the 200 metres, where her condition would not affect her. The AIC went under similar debates into whether the much anticipated carnival would go ahead, and today we were fortunate enough to announce that team. So yes, dreams can come true. On that note, we would like to thank the AIC, the sports department, all of the coaches, internal and external, and to the athletes that managed to squeeze in that rigorous 5-week preseason. Another thank you is extended to the
to the athletes that track and field is not their main sport, but offered a hand to allow spots to be filled. We greatly appreciate your contributions. As one of the final AIC competitive sporting opportunities for 2020, every member of the team should be proud to represent the brown and gold. As a team, we will endeavour to deliver to our supporters the best results possible over 2 days of competition. You can be rest assured that each and every team member is not only striving for a personal best, but also a Padua best. We are honoured to be selected as athletic captains for this year, and we look forward to leading a team full of the good men of Padua. Thank you.
Good men of Padua, I just want to conclude this assembly with a blessing from God, but I'd also ask you to pray for Father John at the moment. He's in good spirits, but he would love your prayers, and I know that he prays for you. After some of the sporting games, he prays a little bit harder, I think, when he hears the results. The Lord be with you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may he look upon you with kindness and give you his peace. And may Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you. Amen.